All right, friends. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you have joined from. So, we begin our content today, today's session, which is troubleshooting high CPU usage. Now, just to ensure that all of you can see me and all of you can hear me well, and you can see the screen, we have the opening slide of the PowerPoint out there. So, please use the chat window and you can just confirm me yes, and then we will be all good. Okay, perfect. And why not? As we always do, please let me know which country you have joined from, where you reside, which part of the world are you from? And it will always be good to read the global participation. Just for everyone's info, we have more than 180 folks today. Cheers. Thank you. Okay. That's good to read all the stuff out there. India, US, UK, Hungary, Canada, New Zealand, Germany. This is Turkey. Wow, this is lovely participation. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Wonderful to read. Kuwait, Singapore, Dubai, Texas, USA. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, friends. Let's begin today's content. You know, the slide here says Module 2 CPU performance monitoring and tuning. I pulled this up from our masterclass content. I was like, okay, for this webinar, for this session, why create something from scratch? Why not just pull up something from our masterclass content? So I pulled up this PowerPoint. But of course, because this module in our masterclass is a huge module. There are a lot of slides, less slides, but a lot of content in terms of demos, etc. So I have trimmed that down to kind of fit into our 45 minutes to 60 minutes content. So you're not going to see too many slides, but just some basic ideas and concepts, and then we will get down to the demos. Okay. So friends, CPU troubleshooting high CPU usage. Let's begin. And we are going to straight away, we of course not going to talk about these classic examples, but because it is more conceptual, I'm going to straight away jump into the things that you need to focus on. So let's say in your SQL Server environment, you are seeing high CPU usage. You see a sustained CPU usage. You have your dashboards, you have your monitoring tools, or you're just simply using the performance monitor, activity monitor, or just the task manager. Whichever tool, I'm sure there are ways how you can see what the CPU usage is like, the graph. And for a considerable amount of time, if you see that CPU usage is peaking, then it is of concern. Occasionally, you will see peaks and valleys, right? CPU is shooting up like 99%, 100%, then immediately comes down, then again goes up, comes down. All that is pretty fine because in a chatty OLTP environment, you will constantly have a lot of resource usage, resource consumption going high up, etc. But when the CPU usage is sustained, high CPU usage constantly, that is where you got to take a look. Then that's kind of what needs investigation. So first things first, you need to find out, is SQL Server the culprit? That's the first step because the recent incident where you saw, systems, worldwide systems were, shutting down and were malfunctioning because of something that was running on Windows operating system, and all of, and I'm hoping you didn't have to face the heat, but many people did, at the airports and a lot of retail counters, banks, etc. So it was a driver issue, it was a software issue which was running on the box. So along with your SQL Server software, if there are other things that are running like backup utilities, antivirus softwares, anti-malwares or whatnot, those are classic examples which will consume CPU usage occasionally. So the first thing here is to identify if it is the SQL Server exe, if it is the SQL Server process that is consuming high CPU usage. Now, I know many folks, when I've been talking to, will switch on the task manager, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this slide again. Let's jump over to the VM here now. And first, let's identify if it is SQL Server that is consuming high CPU. What's your take? How are you going to find out if it is the SQL Server exe or is it any other process on Windows? What is your favorite tool? How are you going to figure that out? Answers in the chat window while I switch on the task manager, etc. Okay. Anyone out there? Activity monitor. Okay. I was expecting this task manager DMVs. Okay. And here comes a few other third party tools. Those may be paid and free. Pretty good. Okay. Perfmon. One of my favorite tools here and most authentic is, of course, the Perfmon. I'm not trying to say talk about other tools whether they are good or bad. It's really most of these tools are good, but I would rely on Perfmon. So what I'm going to do here is now, if you see, this is a very quiescent SQL Server environment. There are no workloads running right now. I am going to turn on Perfmon. I'm showing you everything from scratch. This is going to be a completely demo packed stuff. Let's jump over to performance monitor here. Let's remove these counters. Let's add one simple counter here, two counters, so to say. Let it load. The user interface here is not very intuitive, but it will just do the job. So when we expand process, in process, I have the privilege time and the user time, right? Let's go and add this for our SQL server. So just press S here and search on SQL SVR. Where is that? SQL. Okay, there you go. Okay. And let's go and add. Let's talk about this. So click on OK and let's change the output to report just for the purpose of demo. Now, what you see here is I've taken up these two counters, privilege time and user time for the process, which is SQL Server. Because right now no workloads are running, everything is very nice and smooth. The ocean is very calm right now. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to stress SQL Server. Also take a note of the time. It's 9 p.m. Okay, this is the I'm delivering this from India, so this is the India time right now here, 9:10 p.m., 9:10, 11. Just remember that because we will come back to this time a little later. Okay, because when we have to check back the history. Now we jump over here and I have a few scripts and demos again pulled out from the masterclass content. So I'm going to run a few of these randomly. Let's take this one, stress CPU2.cmd. The moment I fire this up, it's going to send a lot of requests to SQL Server and you will see that look at the virtual processors. There are 8 processors on this box, and all of them are having high sustained CPU usage for some time. Let's jump over to Perfmon now. And in Perfmon, let's put all of these together there. Now, if you see the number, privilege time is 25 here, and user time is 721, 658, sometimes very high. Now it's kind of low, but initially you saw the number was going very high. So let's just wait for a few more seconds and you will see the numbers climbing up. Okay, if you were here with me right now, you would see, the CPU fans burning pretty high, running very high. Now, what I am going to do is just close this workload. And the moment we close the workload, you will see CPU graph goes really down, okay, right? So the usage comes down. Now, let's go and fire this up once more because I want to take a screenshot of the perf mount there. So there you go. Let's take a screenshot here. Look at this one. Okay. Privilege time is about 3-4. User time is about 776%. Okay. Now, okay, friends, what do you make out of this? Can I capture that? Do I have a snipping tool here? A snipping tool. Okay. What do you make out of this? Oh, useless. Okay. Let's close this again. Answers. What do you make out of this? The privilege time here was, about, what was the number? Does anyone remember? This was about, let's say 750. What was the privilege time? Does anyone remember? 3. Okay, was that low? Okay, 38. That's fair. So let's take 38 here. Now, if privilege time is very high, 38%. If privilege time goes very high, which means it's something else on Windows. It's not the SQL Server process, because that is what you have taken here as the count. And for SQL Server, how much CPU time is this process eating out of Windows, and how much time out of the kernel, and how much time is the processor time for the user workloads. That's the user time. So for SQL Server, when we ran the workload, we could see 750%, which is almost close to 800%. Now, why 800%? Percent is always out of 100. It's because of the number of virtual processors. So the number of virtual processors here are 8. So 8 into 100, 800 is the max, which means CPU can peak up to max 800%. Same goes with the privilege time. Now for SQL Server process, if you see user time so high, which means it's the workloads that are inside SQL Server that are consuming high CPU time. If it is privilege time which is going high, which means there is something else on Windows, it's not SQL Server exe. So that is the first conclusion, that you as a DBA or developer or SQL Server practitioner or whoever, I mean, today, everyone is doing everything really. So, I mean, today roles are least important. Everyone is managing and is responsible for uptime of SQL Server. So whoever you are, whatever your role is, your first for the first important critical thing here is to check, yes, be conclusive that this is SQL Server. There are workloads running inside SQL Server which are consuming high CPU usage. Okay, so questions, please use the Q&A window and I will answer them once we are done with the webinar content. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's zoom out and clear this up. I can keep this alive, no problem. Let's keep this alive also. Okay, now let's go back to the slide again. So the first thing we did was, is SQL Server the culprit? As per our demo, yes, it was. If SQL Server was not the culprit, the session would have been over, right? I mean, you don't have to do anything. It's the sysadmins who will take care of things. So yes, SQL Server is the culprit. How much CPU the queries are currently using out of overall CPU capacity? This is real-time troubleshooting. When you are seeing high sustained CPU usage, you have your scripts and tools ready. You probably want to immediately find out what are those workloads running. And some of you gave those answers here in the chat window, like SP who is active, SP who to, and whatnot. Yes, those are good scripts and tools, which they will immediately tell you what's going on inside SQL Server. And they tell you a lot of different things. So I mean, feel free to use whatever you are comfortable with, as long as you get accurate, authentic information. So now let's run the workload again. I'm going to run a different kind of workload. I mean, randomly, a lot of different scripts. And then we will, and all of this can come from your DMVs like sysdm exec request joined with the query plan, the SQL text, and you can extract a whole lot of stuff. Now we are going to pull back a lot of information from the dynamic management views. Yes, Query Store is also a very good tool. So let's do that. Let's go back to the VM again. And now let's jump over to SQL Maestros here, CPU troubleshooting, and let's go CPU step by step. Okay, so how much CPU is being currently used? Now, some of these scripts are guided scripts that we have from Microsoft, but in real world, you may want to really customize them quite a bit. In this DMV, you will see we are dealing with schedulers and requests. So let's go and execute this right now. So what is it? Okay, so CPU from queries as % of total CPU capacity. Now, the question is, okay, you know that this is SQL Server and you want to find out how much CPU is being used by the workloads. Right now, again, the number is all 0 simply because the workloads are not running. So now let us stress SQL Server once more. So we get into stress SQL Server and let's fire this up again. The moment whenever I stress SQL Server with this tool, it just slows down the VM. But anyway, the important thing is all the demos and everything. 98%. So that's the number there. Why stress SQL Server beyond this point? We got our answers. Now, with some mathematics that we are doing from the numbers here, remember OS schedulers is a very important DMV. If you simply do a select star from dim OS schedulers, it gives you a list of all the virtual processors that your box has. Remember, it will give you more than 8 because there are certain hidden ones for internal use. You got to focus on the visible ones, and then they give you utilization, current task count, runnable queue, and whatnot. Now we do some mathematics here and find out, okay, 98% utilization is by the workloads. Okay, that is what we are doing. So this script is very, very handy. Good script. Okay, then queries that are responsible for high CPU activity currently. Okay, so once you get, okay, it is above 90% or whatever that number is, now you want to find out, okay, give me all those workloads and give me those queries, let's say sorted by high CPU usage. That is what you may want to do. So let's jump back to the VM again. Okay. Step 3 here is to identify the queries that are responsible for high CPU activity currently. Run the following statement. Okay, let's do this. Now, this is something that I'm sure all of you have at your disposal, a very classic DMV again here. And remember, in this script, we are not dealing with query stats. You might have thought, okay, what about query stats? We have still not used query stats DMV, which is, according to me, one of the most popular DMVs when we are doing query tuning stuff. Remember, we are still dealing with real-time troubleshooting and monitoring. We haven't gone back to history. In our masterclass, I really talk about this proactive, real-time, and reactive. 3 different approaches and methodologies on how you're troubleshooting resource consumption inside SQL Server. When you talk about resource consumption, it is CPU, it is IO, it is memory, it is TempDB. 4 resources. So we are still doing real-time stuff here. That is why this script does not have any mention, any usage of the query stats DMV, because you all know that query stats DMV has historical data. Okay. All right, let's go and execute this one now. When you execute this one, as expected, real-time stuff, there's nothing coming up because there's nothing running. Now I'm going to run a smaller workload. I'm not going to run this one. I'm going to run something that will complete in about 10 seconds. That's good enough for me to run the workload, come back and show you the script output. So let's do stress CPU, this one. Okay, and let's come back here and execute this once. Okay, let's do this another time. Why am I getting the same script again and again? And they are all coming up as runnable. That should not be the case. Okay, I'm going to just go and see what my workload here is. Should be bunch of random scripts out there. Okay, let's do this, no problem. Doesn't matter as long as we get the output. Should have been many different steps. Okay, anyways, the whole idea of this is, let's close this, is to kind of see what is going on right now. And you can see the CPU time by these statements that are currently running. All of them are select statement. There are reads, writes, etc. But we are going to focus on CPU time. One of the things we are doing in this output is order by CPU time descending. CPU time is an attribute that will come from requests. Okay, this gives you in real time which queries you need to focus on. There's another thing we can do here, which I have not done in this script, is joined with query plan, so that you can also extract the execution plan at the same time. So you get the statement, you get the query plan, and then you know which database, which application, etc. You can figure that out all by yourself. So here you are getting top 10, but then you can just do a top 20 and whatnot. Yeah, that is what we should be doing. Why? That's the reason why I was wondering, okay, this is top 10. I want to do this as top 100. Okay. And why not stress CPU? So friends, you're seeing how we are stressing SQL Server. I don't want to just do 8, 4, 32. Let's just put 32 here. Okay. That's the reason why it was just showing me the same code again and again, because we were bombarding SQL Server right now with 200 threads. Okay, I'm going to do this one and just randomly take this up this. Okay, there you go. Now you will see a couple of different workloads out here that are waiting, but not too many threads. So yeah, that is a little more realistic. Okay. Real world, you take this script, run in your production, you are going to get a lot of different kind of queries that are running. Okay, friends, I need something from you in the chat window. How is it going? We have done three things until this point. Identified, yes, it is SQL Server process that is consuming the CPU usage. Second, what's the total amount of CPU time all these workloads are eating up combined? That's the 98% that you saw. Third thing, give me all the workloads that are consuming high CPU usage, top 10, top 50, top 100, whatever it is. All of this is real time. Three things we have done. Okay, good. I hope you're enjoying this. And I've kept it very, very simple. If you were, I mean, just assuming, if you were attending the masterclass or if you're watching the masterclass recordings, we go a little more deeper. And that's how the masterclass content is supposed to be. But here in the webinar, I've just kept it very simple and to the point. If you want to watch the remainder part of the webinar and all the remaining demos, you can subscribe to the webinar on sqlmaestros.com and get lifetime access to the recorded webinar. All you have to do is just go to sqlmaestros.com, click on the recorded webinar section and get access to all the webinar recordings. There are many of them. Some of these webinars are free and some of them are very nominally priced. So the ones that you're interested in, you can subscribe to them and get lifetime access. Now, because there are so many webinars, subscribing to each webinar might be a bit cumbersome. So we have another option, which is SQL Maestros membership. So the first link on SQL Maestros says join. If you click on that, it will bring you to SQL Maestros membership. Things are very simple. There are two membership levels. The first level is free, where you get access to all the free webinars and all our tutorials and demos, more than 200, 300 demos and tutorials. All you have to do is just become a free member. You're paying nothing and you get access to all of them. So you don't have to go and subscribe to each webinar individually. Just become a free member and then explore the free video lobby. So if you go to the video lobby here, there is something called as free content where you get access to all of that. But then all of us are interested in advanced content, isn't it? And that is where premium membership comes into play. So the webinars that are paid, and there are many advanced tutorials and demos. If you want access to all of them, you can become a premium member and pay a nominal price, which is annual membership. Once you do that, you can explore the premium video lobby. If you go to the premium video lobby from here, or just go to the video lobby and click on premium content, you can see all the paid webinars and all the advanced tutorials and demos and get access to all of them with your annual membership. Anyway, choice is yours. There's a lot of content on sqlmaestros.com, and you can also explore the YouTube membership level as well. So you have free content on YouTube channel, and you can also join and become a member of SQL Maestros on YouTube, where you can pay a monthly fee, get access to all the paid webinars and advanced content. So in summary, you can go to sqlmaestros.com and become a member, or you can become a member on YouTube also. Becoming a member on sqlmaestros.com turns out to be a little cost effective with the annual membership in comparison to YouTube monthly membership. But anyway, choice is yours, whichever platform you wish to use. Happy SQL.